So I'm gonna tell you what helped me get through any life challenge, right?
Yeah.
So something that you went through,
Yeah.
it killed somebody. Somebody else got addicted to drugs,
Yeah.
or they got locked up.
Mm-hmm.
And you free, you walking around.
Yeah.
So that's God giving you the grace
Mm-hmm.
to go be great.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Benrolins Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Benrolins. I want them. Today is going to be a great and absolute perfect episode. Not perfect per se, but it's going to be awesome. And I'm excited to have this great guy today. He's an entrepreneur, he's a father, and he's a podcast host. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome the one and only Mr. Shawn Janey. Hey, Mr. Shawn, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good, brother.
Man,
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you for coming to the show today. For those of you watching, man, there's been an issue. We recorded a podcast episode, but unfortunately we lost the audio, so I had to bring him back. Like this guy is an absolute genius. Okay, thank you very much, bro, for coming again today.
Man, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you, man. It was my fault, so that just putting it out there. And man, how was it like growing up as a kid, bro?
So out of all the kids,
Yeah,
like my father and my mother kids combined, it's 11.
yeah,
But my mother raised 7 of us on her own. So
Yeah.
out of those 7, I'm the second oldest.
mm.
So, living, growing up in a house like that,
Yep.
we kind of got pushed to, people. The term is grow up fast.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just say that we had more responsibility than other kids.
Mm.
Like when, because our mother would leave before we get on the school bus. So now we got to make sure that not only we getting to school, that we getting our siblings up for school.
Yeah.
And then she would get home after we got off.
Mm-hmm.
So, while she was on her way home or ready to get off, we had to make sure like the homework get done, that it was our homework getting done, our younger siblings' homework getting done, make sure the chores was done, that the chicken or whatever she wanted to cook was out and thawing out and stuff like that. So I would say that, people might say, oh, that sound like a lot, but it's not, because you got 7 kids in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have some fun. So we did the blindfold, put the blindfold,
Yeah.
run around trying to tag each other. I remember one time, bro, we had put shampoo on the floor.
Yeah.
And still to this day, my mother don't know about this. We put shampoo on the floor, and we were sliding across the floor, right? Sliding across the floor. And I had hit my head, right?
Whoa.
And then I woke up in my bed. So I was like, oh, but now that I'm on, I'm like, oh, I was knocked unconscious. But that's just the type of fun we had when it's 7 of us. Like we always did something creative. We took the covers and slid down the steps.
Mm.
We had like pillow fights.
Yeah.
We played tag in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like never a dull moment, because it was so many of us that we just like, all right, man, we gonna think of something crazy to do. And then we just deal with our mother yelling at us later, but we gonna have fun right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's incredible. Like 7 in the house. That's a lot of.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. I can just tell. And growing up in that situation where your dad is not at home, like, how was the feeling? Like, did you guys miss him, or like, what was the emotion?
So I would say as a kid, we don't really know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because me and my brother under me, we had played football.
Yeah.
So, we would be at the sports and stuff like that. But as you get older, right, and now, you start, I guess your mind start picking up like details.
Yeah.
So like me and my brother, we was real good at football. Like we had the speed.
Yep.
So when we be in the game and we score a touchdown, of course it's cool having people cheer for your teammates. But when you look out to the crowd, the stands, you don't see your father.
Yeah.
You don't see your mother, because your mother working. Because if she don't work, then it's no food, there's no clothes, there's no roof.
Yeah.
So you as you grow up, you like, dang, man, like my teammate got one parent or both parents there, and I don't have none. you know. So
Yeah.
as we get older, we start noticing it different. But in that moment, again, it's 7 of us, so it's like we all taking care of each other at that point.
Wow, man. I mean, that's tough. You know, sometimes, like, especially guys growing up, and there's some moments in your life where you need, like, a father figure to talk to you. Was your mom playing both roles at the same time, or was she, like, the mother? And sometimes you guys are like, oh, I wish I had a father in my life. How was that like?
So I feel like my mother had to make a choice. So it was 7 kids. So it's 4 boys and 3 girls.
Yeah.
So the masculine energy outweighed the feminine.
Yep.
So she had to make a choice. All right, so I'm going to do the motherly love and just support,
Yeah.
or I'm going to rule with a strong fist with discipline because I got more boys and I don't want them to think they going to walk all over me. So she chose the latter. She chose to rule with a strong fist, chose to be stern and disciplined on it. So now, of course, the discipline we didn't miss out on because, you know, we did something. It was, yeah, get in here and I'm whoop you. Now, for like the stuff like how to be a man, you know, like how to shave,
Yeah.
you know, how to talk to girls, you know, like being bullied, stuff. Nah, I could have wrote my dad, like, you know, dear pops,
Yeah.
dealing with this, but we had to wait 3 to 5 business days for a phone call or a letter back. So it's like, you know, now my brother's older than me, so I'm 30, he's 31. So anytime, you know, I would just go see what my older brother doing. You know, I just go and be like, all right, how with it? Like, hey, you shaving yet? Yeah, you know, and that's kind of how we got to life. Like, we just bounce ideas off each other. You know, if he had a girlfriend, hey man, so what you send her? You write, man? Did you write her a poem or something? Like you know, we really just trying to figure it out. You know, as we go because we don't have no one to talk to.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible, you know, like having like you had a brother. That's really fine because, you know, sometimes people don't even have a brother to talk to.
Yeah.
So if you even have someone where you can like bounce ideas around, it's even important because it makes you guys kind of learn from one another and, you know, no one is perfect. So that's a pretty impressive skill. And your mom taking the role of a man and a woman at the same time, that's pretty incredible because, you know, if you look at the landscape today and you're going to realize that the guys are not home. And sometimes the ladies are just being ladies. And it's not a problem with being that. They got a lot of emotions and they realize that, oh, I just got to love my son for the way he is and just let him do his stuff. And the problem with that is now you just let him do the stuff. And when he goes out to school, he realizes he meets friends who are also living in a single family, single parent household. And they're being brought up by their mom only.
Yeah.
So when they get there, they realize that, oh, these kids, they're selling drugs, they're doing a lot of some crazy activities. And when they come, they'll be like, oh, I just want to belong. I don't have a father. Those kids now are trying to be the father in their own lives. They want to be adult when they're still pretty young. And that's the problem with our, like, an African community especially. I'm not saying it's not a problem for other, like, communities, but ours, that's a big problem. And the moment we start like having this conversation, the better for us. Because now all the guys are just like having fun. I mean, there's no problem with having fun. But when you have fun and you're bringing the kid to this world, whether it's out of wedlock or anything, you got to know you got to be responsible for that. Yeah. Because it's terrible to bring someone to this world to suffer. Yeah. I mean, it's not as if, oh man, everyone got everything figured out. Bro, we're still trying to put our stuff together. Like, no one has had anything figured out yet. So the moment we start, like, having some valuable conversation and asking help from one another, and that's a problem. We think we know everything, but we don't even know nothing. We think we know everything. And that's a major problem because you see an African guy or African American or however you want to call it, you see this guy is going to be going through stuff. And you see his brother or like someone else who knows how to solve the problem. He's not going to go to meet his brother to ask for help or anything. Yeah. He'll be like, he's too proud of himself. Like, oh no, that guy, he don't freaking know what the hell he's talking about. And you live with that every single day. Yeah. And you don't have a solution, but you're too proud to ask for help. And that's a major problem in our community. And I really appreciate you for like saying your mom was stern on you guys being like great. It takes a lot for a woman to take both roles at the same time. And, you know, women were never created that way to be a man and a woman. So it's quite unique to see someone who can do that. Yeah.
And so, I mean, like, and again, I love my mother. And I kind of feel like now that looking back on it, because, you know, what they say that, you know, they say hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
So she chose the stern disciplinary role, you know, because of I got 4 boys and only 3 girls. But now I'm not saying that now, like, if you were to invite one of my sisters, they might feel, oh, well, mom didn't show me that motherly love. She never poured into me as a woman or taught me how a woman's supposed to be. And, you know, and I would just tell them, like, you got to look at it from her point of view. She was the only parent.
Yeah.
So, she did the best she could with what she had. She knew that if I didn't take this stance, they were going to run all over me. And at the same time, right, it could go to show you, like, as a woman, I'm teaching you that you're supposed to stand up for yourself.
Yep.
You know, I'm teaching you that you're not supposed to let a guy run all over you, because what if me and my brother or any of our brothers talked back to her? What? She was, hey, come over here, because who do you think you talking to? You know, and so I would argue that, like, now she may have not been like, oh, come here, let me put the bow on you, or don't get dirty, don't do, but at the same time, it's like when you get into a relationship, you can be like, well, I never seen my mother get ran over by none of my brothers, so I'm not going to let you come in here and talk to me any kind of way. So, I mean, it's kind of like what you want to take from it. You know, like I took from it, for example, I said it last time on you know, I never seen my mother cry. Now, you know, and people, to me, that's crazy, because like, you raised 7 kids. I never see her cry. She, you know, she never, and on the other side, she never said that, you know, well, told us directly or told me directly that, you know, hey, Shawn, I love you. But I could tell, because even though she didn't cry or had that affection, she always made sure we was good. There was food on the table, clothes on our back. Anytime the school called or we got in trouble, she was down at the school immediately. You know, like, so she showed by action. So now that I'm 30, right, you know, people think that I get this type of attitude from a man because I'm a male. That's why Nah, I got this from watching my mother. She has 7 kids. I never once seen her cry. Like, that is a God honest truth. I never seen this woman cry, bro. Never seen her cry. Now, what she did when we were all asleep, I don't know. I didn't see it. But when she was out in front of us, never see her cry. So it's like, for me now, like, I might have a bad day, but you would never know, because I still get up. I still do everything I'm supposed to do, because that's what I seen her do. She never said, oh, this is too hard, I'm going to just lay here. She did it. Now, I don't know, like, if she had, like, when she went to work and she was on the phone, like, oh, she never did it in front of us. So that's how I am now. I'm like, yo, you wouldn't know that I'm sad, because I would still get up, I would still go to work, still feed my dog, still take care of my kid, still do everything that I would do on a normal day. So you would never know. And I get that from her, because that's what she showed to all of us.
Yeah, man. I would say your mom is a superwoman, bro. Because it takes a lot of, like, courage and determination and hard work to put yourself in that situation where you're not just taking the responsibility of a woman, but a man at the same time. You know, it gets overwhelming sometimes. I'm not a lady, but I can tell, like, just watching, you know, when you see, like, ladies taking care of a lot of responsibilities, sometimes you feel like, oh man, this life is not worth it. It's not worth living. So to sacrifice your own, like, happiness to, like, make your children get to another level, it takes a certain level of, like, self-belief and determination. And not everybody has that. So I hope you always tell your mom you love her and appreciate her for her hard work, because that's incredible, bro. That's really incredible. And was there any point in your life where you sat down and, like, oh, had my dad been in my life would have been this way.
Yeah. So, like, my mama would tell you, I'm always the one that did everything the hard way. I always had to learn the hard way. You know, and I felt like I had to do that because I didn't have, you know, that father, like, look, son, you know, I did it this way when I was your age, and it did this for me. I had to go learn, so I would be like, okay, now I know I'm definitely not going to do that. So let me just go over here, you know, and just sitting back, as you said, reflect. I'm like, yeah, my life probably would have took a different route. It probably would have been easier, because I could have been like, hey, Pop, you know, I got this problem going on and I just need some advice.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that. So I'm like, you know what what's the worst could happen? You know, I'm gonna get yelled at. Mother gonna beat me, take my phone, punish me. All right, cool. I'm gonna just go ahead and do this the hard way. Oh nah, okay, that didn't work out. So now we're gonna do this the right way and see this gonna pay off more.
Wow. That's incredible. You know, man. You know, sometimes it's really hard to live without your dad. Just imagine you not seeing your dad for a long time. And for those people watching, what was your dad? Because some people will be like, oh, he's talking about his dad. What was his dad?
So my dad got arrested when I was 9.
Yeah.
He just got released when I turned 29.
Wow.
So he was gone for 20 years. 20 years, 2 decades.
Wow. That's
Gone.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And not having your dad for the length of time, it takes a lot. Because, you know, when you're a teenager growing up, especially when you're transitioning to become an adult, that's when you really need that father figure. Because there's a lot of temptation, bro. Like, you see a lot of people involved in drugs and all these cracks and stuff like that. You're like, oh my God, should I get myself into this thing just to belong to this group of people who like have all the flashy watch, flashy cars and stuff like that. And if you have a guidance, like a father figure who can like guide you towards the right path, it's going to be really important for you as a man to understand that principles and values really help you, not just the flash. Because a lot of people gain their self-esteem from the diamonds, the watch, the gold watch, the chains and all the stuff. And the moment they lose the chain, they're like, they can't even talk. They can't even talk. They're just like, oh my God, I lose my self-worth. Because they attach the self-value and the self-worth to the chain or to the watch or to the ring. And that's a problem, especially with us. If you see our athletes, you see our musicians, all the rappers, man, they gain millions of dollars and they lose it within no time. And you ask yourself, like, damn, how did that guy do it? And that's a problem. We need to start having this conversation, especially with those guys like, hey, guys, tell me how you messed it up so I can learn and then I know this is a pattern I don't got to follow. But if you just sit down behind and you're looking, you're going to realize that they're buying the most expensive stuff, buying this, and they're not investing. And that's a problem with our community. We're not really invested. We don't really invest our time into like learning about like business, entrepreneurship into a deeper level. We just believe like, oh, we got everything figured out. And that's a problem. We got to learn and teach one another. Let one another grow. Support our brothers. Support our community. Because that's how we're going to take ourselves to the next level. I always say this. Like, if you take a look at all the communities, all the like the cities, all the states that are mostly run by black people, you're going to realize that it's a problem. And when I say this, some people will be like, oh, you're so controversial. It's not a matter of being controversial or not. Just take a look. Like, name any city with a black man, you're going to realize, oh, something's going on over there. Why? Because like if you don't even have like a self-belief in your own self and ability, how are you going to rule? How are you going to lead the people into a better future? You cannot even do that because a leadership always starts with yourself. Like how you look at yourself, the identity, your self-identity is going to determine how you're going to like lead another person. Because if you don't even believe in your own strength and ability, how are you going to influence me to do something positive? So when you don't even know, you have no clue about what you're even talking about, you get to the position after giving people a lot of promises. You get there now, you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do the next day? You don't even freaking know what is going on. But if you have that level of self-belief, we got to like sit down and start doing self-reflection because that's our problem. The moment we start doing that, we're going to realize that, oh my God, there's some things that we have been taking for granted that we got to bring forth right now and start taking measures that is going to lead us to a better tomorrow. And ask ourselves, our kids, do they have a better future? What future are we living for them? Are they going to like live in this same mess that we're living today and be happy or build like successful families for their own generation? We got to start thinking about generational world, generational freedom, generational wisdom. If we don't start thinking about that, it's going to be hard for you to even leave something for your kid because people think it's money. You leave your kid money and you don't leave the kid's values, principles, it's gone. It's really gone, man. Yeah, man. Do you have anything to say about that?
So I know, so I live my life by 5 values. God first, because in order to do anything, got to be right with God. Then self, because if I'm messed up, as you said, you can't help nobody because you messed up, right? And then family, because the help supposed to start in the house first. So you can't go out and tell somebody to get right, and then your house all jacked up, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And then it's business, because to support myself, my family, I need to have some money coming in to take care of everything. So business, and then it's others, because now that I got everything check off, I'm right with God. I got myself in line. My family good. My business all right. Now I can help other people. Now I can start showing, hey, sit down, and just because I grew up in a Section 8 of Annapolis, right? Had a lot of friends, who sold drugs, right? And when they get locked up, even I see them on Instagram with the money, even though they get locked up, all that's gone. So you got kids now who you can't do nothing for because they took your money. So I got a life insurance policy. I got stocks. I put money into the stocks every time I get paid. I got accounts for real estate. I throw money in there every time I get paid. And even though it's like, oh, Shawn, your kids will be good now. Nah, because I still left like directions. Like, look, they don't touch this until they're 21. And even when they turn 21, right? They either got to be working a job or they got to be getting like a diploma or they got to be going to a trade school, because I'm not letting you get money just for you to just I'm a rich kid now. Nah. You gonna learn like, oh dang, I get $500 paycheck. Let me see how I'm gonna make this last. Now that you learn how you gonna make your money, like now you can inherit this money that I left you behind. So and that just I just want them to see that life's not all about money. I don't want it. You get something and then it slipped through your fingers. Candace Owens, she said a terrific point. She was like, something happened with some famous person. They passed the wealth down to their kid, and they was doing dumb stuff, blowing it on something. And she was like, that made me think. And also when she said it made me think, she said, I don't want my children to mess up the generational wealth for my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. So I'm putting stuff in place now where it's like, I want to make sure that this keep flowing. I want to make sure that everything that I have, that the value, like my house, my home, the vehicle, the stocks, all this stuff is put in place, and that it have rules and regulations so that no one can just blow it because they just think that they have money.
Yeah, that's true, man. And values are really important. Values are the key to life. And if you want to achieve any major goal in your life, you really need values and principles. Because if you don't have those principles, you're not going to really achieve anything major in your life. You might do it. People say, oh, you can make money. You can rob a bank and make money. But the thing is, are you going to feel at peace with yourself? You're going to be scared. Oh, they might come get me today. They might come get me tomorrow. And that's not the kind of life you want to live. You don't want to live constant fear. You don't want to be afraid every single day when you wake up. You want to have some values. And like it's not that hard or complicated to really figure out what values are. Like you got to realize, like, if you do something, is it going to help someone or is it going to hurt someone? And if you can ask yourself that question, it's easy for you to make a choice. But the moment you just like, no, I don't care. All that matters to me is the bottom line. You're going to keep hurting people. And in the long run, you can't really build generational wealth. And that's a problem for us. And I believe that if we can start having this honest conversation and saying like, hey, bro, I've not figured everything out. I know you've not figured everything out either. But how can we come together and work to see where our flaws are and what we can start with, some measures we can start taking today that's going to help not just me or just you, but our community as a whole. We got to start looking out for one another because this is a problem, and it's a major problem. When I see like all these kids growing up, like no parents, nothing. Sometimes people will be like, oh, this is a useless kid. He's he's just involved in drugs and stuff like that. But you don't know his story. I'm not saying, oh, if you grow up in a single family household and you just grow up with your mom, you should go involved in any illegal activity. No. But sometimes, like when you're still a little kid, you're programmed. It's easy for your brain or your mind to be programmed. And when they grow up in that environment, they're programmed already. And even if they have like a father figure, it does not mean like, oh, it's 100% probability that they're going to be good. there's still like a slightest chance that they might turn on the wrong way. But just having the father figure, it instills some level of respect.
Yeah.
Some level of respect. Like no matter how your mom talks or do some stuff, and once your dad say, you realize that you better
Facts.
straighten up because things are about to go south now. You better straighten up.
Yeah.
I mean, your mom can do everything. You know, sometimes I'm going to ask you this, but I want to say this. I have met some people who grow up in like a single family household, and just with their mom. They said it's difficult to be a man growing up with a woman. What do you say to that?
So I'm going to say yes and no. And the only reason I say that is because I think it's difficult for the mom too, right?
Yeah.
Because now we got to put ourselves in her shoes, right? In that single mother's shoes. Right?
Yeah.
Now from a little age, she's able to rule strong over the kids, like us. But once we start getting older, like take me for example, I started playing football. I got interested in boxing. All these things that made me. I went to the gym, started working out. So now it's like, okay, now my son that I used to be able to rule sternly, now he's starting to like those hits not gonna weigh on him no more.
Yeah.
My threat's not gonna. So what she do? She let me move in with my sister. Basically like, all right, you 18, so. You gonna learn the world by yourself, So yeah, I wouldn't say it was difficult for me because like at a certain age it's kind of like, what you ready to do to me? You think you gonna come in and hit me? Cause I'm gonna eat that, and I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Wow.
So I wouldn't say it was difficult for me. It was more difficult for her because all these years I've been able to get them to do what I want because I, just that fear like. Now they're getting older and they're growing into a man. Now they know like, oh yeah, bro, I'm way stronger than my dudes.
I like that though. And like growing up with your mom, did that experience with your mom make you have a different perspective towards women or ladies in general, like hold them to high esteem? Yeah,
so I know for me,
just
when I got back dating. I always, and one of my friends asked me the same question. They said, are you holding like my fiance, are you holding her to the standard that your mother was at? And I'm like, nah, because I still be trying to give people grace.
Yeah.
I still be trying to be understanding. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I can't be that understanding and give that much grace because like because take for example, like you dating a girl and she got one kid.
Yeah.
And then you come from like me, your mother raised 7 kids.
Yeah.
You kind of like, come on, bro. Like it can't be that hard because I seen my mother do it and she had 7. You only got 1. So you think I'm ready. You see what I'm saying? Like if I see you struggling with 1 kid, I'm kind of like, nah, I can't really talk to you because I seen my mother take care of 7.
Yeah.
And like I said, I never seen her cry. I never seen none of that.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, I can't, And one of my friends was joking with me about this. He was like, nah, Shawn, like, do you think that's fair?
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, come on now, like be honest, like 7 and 1. Come on, bro. Like, you think I'm ready to take anything less? Like, I feel like if you got 1 kid, your stuff supposed to be like squared away. Like my mother worked and she went to school.
Yeah.
And she took care of 7 kids. So
man.
It's like, come on, man.
Man, that's incredible though. But you got to understand something. Not everyone is like your mom.
Yeah.
And your mom is uniquely different. I can just tell from that because growing up, like taking care of 7 kids, that's mind blowing just to think about it.
Yeah.
Just imagine being in that process of doing that stuff, bro. It's incredible. So I applaud your mom for that. That's incredible. But holding another person to that standard, bro, that's incredible. And doing that, sometimes you make the person feel uncomfortable. And that's one of the problem with relationship though. Because most of the time we have like unreal expectations based on like our parents or our previous conception of like what a woman is supposed to act and behave like.
Right.
And then when you meet that person, you have this unreal expectation, and that guy or that lady don't even know
Yeah.
that these are your expectations. Or let's just assume you had parents who like they are so romantic towards each other, they terrorize, they do stuff, and when you meet this person, you're expecting that the person should do love you that way, and we forget to let that person love us the way you want
facts.
to love us.
Yeah.
And now, if you don't let that person love you the way they want to really love you, they're just going to try to fake just to make you happy.
Right.
And they're trying to feed that ego, The moment they realize that they can't really do it, that's the end of the road. Because now they're just like, how am I going to do this stuff? How am I going to continue not being myself, not being real, just to please this guy?
Yeah.
But relationship is so valuable, but you have to understand, just like we're talking about values. Values are the key. I've said this on several of my episodes. I said, love does not make a relationship work. And some people keep like hitting me up. They're like, man, you don't really know what you're talking about. But I said, and it's true though, like love does not make a relationship work.
Right.
You got to have like some three basic values. And that is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Without those three things, it's really hard for you to really understand someone if you can't even communicate effectively with that person. And that's really great. And sometimes when you don't communicate with someone and something happens, you don't have that communication to really understand that, hey, this is a problem. How can we solve it? You're just like, you lose yourself up. It's just like, man, I don't feel like having a conversation, especially guys, bro. To have a conversation. I mean, some guys will be like, oh, yeah, baby, you're so beautiful. You look amazing, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to having the real conversation, they try to run away from me. They're just like, how do I start that conversation? I don't know the kind of response I'm going to receive. And just like, nah. And then all of a sudden you see the relationship is not going the way you wanted it to go because you could not communicate. And that's a big problem, bro. It's a big problem. Yeah.
So I know for me, like one of the downsides of how I was brought up, and it's for both parents, basically. Since my mother had to play two parts. Like I said, she was stern, so we didn't get that emotional, pouring into. So like, for example, before I came here, my daughter, she was so that's right, my stepdaughter. She was telling my sister, she was like, I can tell that you and Shawn are siblings because y'all don't like affection. And she was like, watch this. And she came over and hugged me. I just stood there like that. And now that I'm 30, I'm looking back on it, it's like because I was never taught how to, like prime example, when I was 8, 9, the dude stuck a knife in a switchblade in my hand. Oof. I still got the scar. And he looked me dead in my eyes and he was like, big boys don't cry. You better not cry. I mean, the tears was rolling, but I never was like, wow. And once he did it, he wrapped it up and he was like, I'm teaching you a life lesson. So now I'm going through life and I'm like, so what do I do with all this? Yeah. So when my fiance want to talk about stuff, I'm kind of hesitant. But I'm always remembering now, like, well, you don't say nothing, then you can't expect her to know because you're not saying nothing. So, I mean, it might take me like a couple minutes. I might be like, hey, give me a little time. Let me formulate what I'm trying to say. Yeah. But I'd be like, all right, I'm ready to talk about it. But I know that stemmed from growing up because, again, if my father was there, it would have been balanced. But since my mother had to choose one or the other, she chose to rule with a stern hand. So it's like my stepdaughter said, when she hugged me, I just like, why are you touching me? Like,
wow, man. Wow, that's really a story to tell, bro. Especially your daughter already noticing the difference. Oh, this guy is not emotional, bro. Damn. Wow, bro. That's a story, bro. I really appreciate you for giving us that story. I really appreciate that. And sometimes we don't really like communicate and have this like real talk because we don't know how to. And sometimes we're scared that, oh my God, I might not get the response I want to hear. Right. And maybe you might hear something else. I'm just going to give a prime example. Like every company, right? They in the period of 12 months, they got 4 years every 12 months. That's 4 quarters. So every quarter, they check the books, to balance the book to see, what's the top line, what's the bottom line, are we making profit or making a loss? And they try to like ask themselves some question and see how they can improve and adjust.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, what did we do wrong this week? What did we do wrong this quarter that is going to affect us for the rest of the year? How can we adjust and make sure everything is good? Like every quarter, they have quarterly goals, and they always try to like hit that target. Like especially if you look at the stock market, like the analysts, they're like they're like, oh, this is a target. Oh, this company got to hit like $5 billion this quarter. And if they don't hit, the stock goes down. And that's how you see relationship got to be. It got to be like quarterly goals, and you got to have that real conversation. Like, hey, babe, is this relationship going the way you envision it to be? People don't want to ask that question because, damn, they're scared of the answer. They don't want to hear the answer. But that's some conversation we got to start having. Like, is this relationship like really moving towards the direction you envision it to move towards?
Yeah.
And the moment you get the answer, if it's not moving towards that direction, hey, how can we adjust?
Yeah.
What action, what measures, what steps can we start taking today that's going to make us like get better tomorrow?
Correct.
Because we are not perfect. We're just imperfect soldiers just trying to figure this thing out. Yeah. And the moment we grow together, learn from each other, that's how we progress. But if we're not even ready to have that conversation, how are we even going to move to the next level? It's really complicated, bro. Yeah.
So I know, speaking from personal example, that's exactly what happened to my first marriage, right? You know, I was, again, I come from all this stuff.
Yeah.
So now I'm supposed to be this tough, macho guy, right?
Yeah.
So the year 2020, I lost my best friend.
Wow.
He got hit by a 16-wheeler.
Sorry about that.
Then after that, my grandfather died in a house fire.
Wow.
Then after that, I got hit and then totaled my car.
God.
So I'm dealing with, and then on top of that, my daughter was born, my first kid born.
Yeah.
So I got all these emotions that I don't even know what to do with them.
Wow.
And I'm scared to open up to my first wife because I'm like, bro, she might not see me the same way she see me. And on the inside, I feel like I'm dying. Like I can't breathe, Nights I'm just, everything's bottled up, and I'm like, I want to say something, but I'm like, I don't know how she's going to react. Is she going to see me less of a man? She's going to be like, oh, this not the guy that I wanted to marry. Like, what is macho man at, And so everything kept being bottled up. And what people need to know, that you keep things bottled up, it's going to come out one way or another.
Yeah.
So I started drinking, right? Started getting drunk, all this stuff, just drinking. And then next thing I know it, it's like, oh, yeah, I want separation, and it's like, I can't blame her because it's like, it's my fault because I should have been like, look, man, how you said, come in here for this first quarterly meeting. Girl. Look, I'm struggling, man. Like, it's a lot going on. I'm trying to balance this grief, then trying to be a father. Like, this stuff is taking a toll on me, but I kept it in because I'm like, nah, man, she married me because I thought she wanted this macho man, but I'm like, she probably just wanted me to say something. Yeah. Like, babe, I need some help. Like, I need you to be here for me. Yeah. But like, for example, when I went to my grandfather's funeral, even though I really wanted her to go, but it was during COVID, right? And then she had our daughter, and she didn't want our daughter to be around people. Yeah. Even though I wanted her to go, I didn't say nothing. I'm like, all right, cool. I didn't say nothing at all. Even same thing with my best friend who died. I wanted her to go to the funeral, and of course she said no, but I was like, I'm not gonna say nothing because, I don't know what the response gonna be. But it's like, now that I'm 30, I'm like, bro, why did you just say something, bro? Like, not when people don't realize that it take more strength to speak up than just to remain silent. Yeah. Like, that's more strength that you say, look, this is what I feel. Like, don't make me any less of a man. Yeah. I'm just letting it be known this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah. I'm glad. I'm really glad you brought that thing up because, Top G, Andrew Taylor. It's like, be a man. You got to be masculine male. You got to, like, if you show a woman that, oh, you're vulnerable, you're a weak man, you blah, blah. I mean, I love Andrew Tate, by the way. Yeah. He's an incredible guy. I mean, if you listen to his underlying message, it's incredible. Be a man, you got to work out, go to the gym, try to, like, work on your mindset, do some certain things to improve yourself. Yeah. That's how you be a man in the real world. But the problem is you got to understand that you're not just being a man, but you're also dealing with another human being. And in order to deal with another human being, you got to understand that communication is a really valuable key to move your any relationship forward towards another dimension. It does not mean you're going to appear to a woman like crying, weeping and stuff like that. Because, you know, some guys take it to another level. They just think, you got to express your emotion and blah, blah, blah. Communication is the key, bro. The way you communicate really matters a lot. Communication does not mean you crying or showing someone you're vulnerable. It's like, hey, nobody's perfect.
Right.
We got our days, bro. Like some days you don't feel like talking to anybody.
Yeah.
You just want to be yourself.
Yeah.
And just having the conversation with your friend, with your partner, hey, I don't got everything figured out. I'm struggling right now. But the fact that I'm struggling does not mean that I'm not a man. It's just one of those off days. We all have our off days. But if I don't treat you a certain way, like the way you really expect me to treat you, you got to understand that these days are not really my days. I'm really trying to get back on my feet.
Yeah.
So I need help. And if you think you can help me, sure. But if you cannot, just give me space so I can try to clear my head out and see how I can work things out. And then ask questions too, because you never know. That person might even have answers or solutions to the problems you're going through. But we just like, I want to be a top G. And you want to be a top G, you don't want to communicate. And you know, sometimes a lot of people misunderstand Andrew Tate's message. Yeah. They just think, he means this thing, without really listening to really understand what he's actually saying. It's just like, when you be a man, you ain't gonna be vulnerable, you ain't gonna talk to these ladies or bitches. Like, come on, bro. Yeah. Like he might say sometimes, you know, like you having a conversation and some things just come out. Yeah. And the joke or something you just say, like just to make people laugh. That's what people are going to concentrate and focus on. They were like, he said he don't care about ladies. He don't blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm not coming today to defend Andrew Tate or anything, but I'm just saying that, I'm just saying that, like, we as guys, sometimes we got to understand that we're dealing with a very complicated being called a female or a lady. Yeah. And you got to understand that these ladies were really intertwined in a really valuable way where they have something called instincts and intuition. A lady's intuition is greater than anything. Like we guys, we are so logical. We think, calculate, think about the numbers and the possibilities. Like, hey, we're so logical. But a woman or a lady is so emotional. Yeah. So she works according to her feelings and emotions. So sometimes, probably you guys might be sleeping, and a lady can feel like something is off. Maybe the door is open or something like that. And you're just like, no, you think with your mind calculating stuff like, no, the door is not open. It's okay. And you're just like, after like she's keep pushing you, like, go check. You're like, okay, well, fine. Yeah. You go, you want to check, the door is widely open. You're like, oh, wow. Yeah. And being a man, you don't want to accept that you're wrong. You're just like, whatever. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to appreciate. Right. Appreciation is the key, you know. Like sometimes, because, you know, we as human beings, not only ladies, the most important sound we want to hear is our name. Our name is the most important sound we want to hear. And when someone calls you by your name and listen to your opinion, I mean, it's another thing listening, because a lot of people don't really listen. They always listen with the intention to respond. They don't listen with the intention to understand. And that's a different thing. Especially ladies. Ladies want to have like they want to communicate. They want to talk. They want to talk to their partners. They want to have some valuable conversation. Like we guys, we don't want to talk. We are mostly focused on like our recreational needs, like watching sports or doing something. You know why guys mostly watch sports? They're avoiding conversation. They don't want to. They don't want to be talking. Blah, blah. They just put it on sport, like Sports Center or anything, and just watching. Yeah. Because that's how we're wired. We want to like. Focus on our recreation. And if it's a wise lady, if you want your conversation, come to the sports center. Like, hey babe, I don't really understand this, but what's this guy doing? What's the other person doing? Yeah. And you're gonna have your conversation. Before you know, you can switch and you have what you want to say. But sometimes it takes wisdom to really understand these things, bro. Yeah.
So I mean, now me and my fiance, we kind of balance each other out, right? So, you know, she is kind of like my mother, you know, same birthday month, January, right? Wow. You know, single mother, you know, but the only thing, she had 2 kids. So she had that. So I can see, like, my mother in her, right? So, you know, and it's funny because I'm sitting here listening to you talk and I'm reflecting. I'm like, yo, he's right, because it was a time when my best friend's birthday came up, January 25th. You know, of course, you know, I probably, you know, I was going through all this stuff, laying around, but I was still not laying around for a long time, but just laying around, not being the same old Shawn.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I finally was like, dang, I think I actually might be like down in the dumps. I texted her and was like, hey, boo, I think I'm dealing with like this sadness feeling. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, I kind of already figured, because, you know, you've been a little hesitant on doing stuff. You haven't been going down in your bar, you know, doing stuff. It's like she already knew. She was just waiting for me to tell her.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, yeah, you know, they do have that instinct where it's like, yeah, something off.
Yeah, something.
You know, and then at the same time, as I said earlier, I didn't have that emotional. So, you know, sometimes, you know, it's like the roles are flipped. Like, she'll be the logic one, like, no, and I'm like, oh, yo, slow down. You know, let's breathe through this. Let's think, you know, let's get our emotions together. I'm not saying you can't be mad. Now, here I'm like, dang, look at me trying to teach somebody how to, you know, feel their emotions. Yeah. You know, and it's just like, God know what you need, you know, not what we want, but what we need. Yeah. So, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, I can understand how she got the wisdom, because again, I didn't know. Then when it took me a couple of days, she was like, yeah, I knew like the first day, because you didn't go down to the man cave, you didn't smoke any cigars, you just was.
Yeah, just low key.
Yeah, and she was like, but I already knew. I'm like, oh, yeah. So, yeah, they do got instinct, man.
Yeah, they really do have instincts. And sometimes we don't really appreciate them. We just think we know everything. And when you don't even know anything, ladies are they're really wired, bro. They're really wired. They can just like sense something before it even happens. They're just like, oh, yeah, it's going to happen. And you'll be like, no, there's no way. Because the way you're thinking, you're like, no, there's no chance that it's going to happen. But if we just start like helping one another, it's going to be great. Like just talking, having conversations like, hey, I don't know everything. I know you don't know everything, but I think you have some valuable insight and I have some valuable insight. How can we like try to like learn from one another to move these things to the next level? That's how we can move forward greatly in our lives. And if you want to even step back to ask, like, I'm just asking everybody, even the audience listening to this podcast episode on audio or like watching on YouTube, I just want to say this, like, where did you get your perception about love or relationship?
So, right, I got it from my parents, right? So, again, if you grow up in the way that I grew up, you like, I'm never going to be X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So, you know, I feel like these are the things that I hold closely. You know, you never put your hands on a woman, never put your hands on kids. Yeah. You know, you always supposed to provide for your family no matter what. Like that's what you like. That's your duty, not only to them, but that's your duty to God. Like if you die, God's gonna say, so what did you do for your family? You say nothing, he's gonna be like, get out of here. You know, so like that's like on top tier. Like that's how I feel for me with love is. You know, I take care of everyone. You know, anytime that there's an issue, all right. So what you want to do? What do we need to do? You know, even now that I have a son, you know, I'm now I got a son now, right? You know, I'm teaching him. All right, you know, if he cry, I'm not like the guy, be a man. I'm like, all right, you know, son, come here. Let me hold you. It's okay. You know, you can cry. And then after like 3 minutes, I'm like, all right, man, now.
You got to be a man.
Yep. Come on now. Suck it up now. But, and it's funny because I don't even need to tell him that, you know, because it's like he already know, because he'll cry for 2 minutes, then push off and get down and go do the same thing that he just hurt himself with. So it's like, all right, cool. You know, but that's to me what it's like being present, you know, letting the people that you love know. Because the saying is the most valuable thing you have is time. Yeah. So that's the most valuable thing that I can give to them to show them that I love them. Yeah. All right, you know, like last night I called off from work just to be present with my family. I'm like, all right, you know, let me just sit home, you know, play with my son, you know, play with my daughters, you know, talk to my fiance, let them see that. Oh, he's home and he's giving that time to us. Yeah. Sitting out in the living room talking, you know, asking about our day, cracking jokes, making everyone laugh. Like, that's how I feel. Because like I said, when I went out and I played football and I looked to the crowd, I ain't see no parents. So now it's like, I want to make sure that they know I'm here.
Yeah, and that's very important. That's very important because most of the times, like our kids are looking at us and observing every little move, and we don't really know they're observing. They might not say nothing, but one day you're gonna realize that they've been taking a lot of notes, and if your action does not match your word, they'll be like, Daddy don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
He don't really know what he's talking about. But when your action matches your word, they're like, oh yeah, Daddy got character, he got integrity, and they want to like mirror you. They're like, oh yeah, I want to like be like my daddy. My daddy is my role model.
Yeah.
Because they see some real in-depth principles and values that they can like learn and reciprocate. But the problem is sometimes children are going to watch their parents, right? And they're going to notice that the parents are not even doing what they say. And it doesn't really match. All of a sudden, they don't even take their parents seriously.
Yeah.
And that's when they go outside to like meet their friends who are going to like fit into their ego to do something crazy. And all of a sudden, you're like, why is my child stubborn? Why is he not listening to me? Look at yourself and realize some of the things you're doing that's not right. Because kids, they pick up things fast, bro. They really pick up things fast. Yep.
Like so more of my backstory, right?
Yeah.
So, we lived in a Section 8. Mother had 7 kids.
Yeah.
So my baby sister, she was born premature.
Yeah.
Like real premature. Like she was so small, we can hold her in the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
So I watched my mother, because she didn't have a car,
Yeah.
and she had her in January, so that's the winter month. I watched my mother dig through the couch to find quarters to catch the bus to go to the hospital to visit my baby sister, right?
Wow.
So now, as an adult, I see like, I come from this unfortunate situation where I see my mother struggling.
Yeah.
You would think the first thing, my reaction would be to give my kids whatever they want. Nah, I'm complete opposite. I'm like, because even though people say, oh, that's so sad, it's like I learned something.
Yeah.
That's why I'm the way I am. Yo, be there for your kids.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I know you want this physical object, but that's not what I'm going to give you, because that's not what life is about.
Yeah.
Let's go do something else. Something like, do you want to go to the mall? Do you want to hang out? Do you want to go play a sport or something? Something to show you that it's not all about these objects.
Yeah.
All because I come from an unfortunate circumstance where now I'm like, all right, well, I have the ability to give them whatever they want, whatever they ask, but it's like, nah, because I know that's really not going to solve the issue, because again, I watched my mother not have much and still, and look how that spread on to us. Like, if you talk to my brother, my oldest brother, he'd be the same way, and he like, yeah, man, I work hard, I do. He would say the same thing I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's like, now that I'm not going to give you everything, I'm going to instill in you these principles. Like, prime example, our oldest daughter, 14, she got her phone taken away. Well, all of them got their phones taken away.
Yeah.
And now look though, right?
Yeah.
I went into the room, the 14-year-old reading a book.
Yeah.
She's reading her younger sister a Cat in the Hat book.
Ooh.
Right? So we took away the phones, and now you're doing something constructive to replace that time.
Yeah.
So it's like, now they might be like, oh no, man, I can't wait to get my phone back. But when they grow up and they look back like, oh yeah, I took time out and read my little sister this Cat in the Hat book. I read this book. Even though this is a time where people don't really read books like that, like I'm sitting here reading this book. It's because like all right, man, this right here what we're gonna do.
Yeah, man, and that's great. Like taking the phone out of the way from those kids, it make them leave the world of distraction and focus, because there's a lot of noise. They're gonna go through TikTok, dancing, like before they realize they're emotionally fatigued. Because they don't really know what they've done, like the whole day just like going through TikTok or like Instagram and stuff, and they don't really have a sense of like the real world.
Yeah.
Because if you want to see, some of the things on the internet are really fake, and they'll think like, oh, this stuff, this is how the whole life is supposed to be, and then when they come back to the reality, they're like, oh, what am I doing, Daddy? You gotta get me this. You gotta get me that. And just taking that stuff away from them, they come back to reality. And like, see, now she's replacing the phone with a book.
Yeah.
That book, what she's going to read in that book is going to like help her tomorrow. Even if that book is like, let's just say it's a crazy book or anything, just that habit is going to like make her know, oh, sometimes you got to read. And even if you give her phone back, she's going to know like reading is a good thing. Because once you read long enough, you realize that if it's a good habit to have. And once you read, your brain expands. And you start seeing things from a different perspective and angle. You're like, damn.
Yeah, that's right.
How come I never felt like this before? And that's the magic of reading.
That's right.
And just being quiet and understanding. But when you just on social media or you just want to be active on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, blah, blah, all of a sudden you realize you're just going through time, and time is just like passing you by, and you realize like, what the hell have I done?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And
that's facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because right now, I grew up in the Section 8.
Yeah.
So I grew up watching people getting chased by police.
Yeah.
Houses getting raided by police.
Yeah.
You know, hookers, prostitutes, drugs being sold. Like when I was a kid, right? When I was like 8, 9, my mother used to work overnight at Denny's, so she'd get home like 5 a.m. So Shawn was outside because remember I told you I had to learn the hard way, so I was outside. And I remember this older kid, probably way older. He had pulled me to the side and he put some drugs in my hand.
Yeah.
And my babysitter ran over like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And these was his words. He's like, he's gonna learn sooner or later. Might as well teach him now.
Wow.
So that's what I grew up. And people don't understand that once you condition. Even when you get older, right, you believe that's the way life's supposed to be because that's what you've seen since you was a kid.
Yeah.
So when I started going to school, when I went to the private university in North Carolina, I spent my time in the library reading books, just reading books. And I was just like, it's just like you said, my mind expanded because I'm like, whoa, like I never knew that all this stuff existed outside of that. It's because no one ever took time like, look, man, just... sit in the house and read this book or something. It was always outside. And then just watching everything like the drugs and you know, the shootouts and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, well then this must be what life's about.
Yeah.
But then when I went to college and I tell people, I'm like, man, I spent all this money on a whole bachelor's degree just to only be like, bro, the most fun I had was in the library reading books. I could have did that home. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, so, but that's like, as you said, that's what expanded my mind was reading the books. I read like the autobiography of Pablo Escobar. I read like the autobiography of Asada Shakur. I read the autobiography of Huey P. Newton. All these books I read in the library, and I'm like, yo, my mind is so like open now. Yeah. So now that I know these things, so now when I go back and I talk to my kids or I talk to my siblings or I talk to a friend that's back in that, I'm like, nah, bro, it's more to life. Yo. Yeah. Like, you ain't gotta go nowhere. Just go read a book now. Yeah. Just read a book and you'll see like, yeah, it's way more to life than just this.
Yeah, that's true. You know, like the world today is all about attention. We're living in the age of attention. They just want our attention. And they're programming our mind. Yeah. People are going to like, oh, programming our mind. No one is programming my mind. I do what I want to do when I want to do it. But if you take a look back, you're going to realize that the program, everything you got targeted at everywhere. Yeah. Like, have you ever realized you're just thinking about something and then all of a sudden you turn on the TV, you realize you're seeing that thing?
It's all that.
Yeah, you were like, oh, are they listening to me on my phone or what? Yeah. They're programming you every single day. And you always, you become what you listen to, what you read, and what you like really understand. That's who you become. And people will be like, oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. Yeah. Man, if you just keep like listening to dumb stuff, like stuff that are not going to add value to you, you might not realize it today, but in the long run, you're going to realize that you're really going away from your goals. You're really going away from your principles. And all of a sudden, you start seeing yourself, you're like, man, this is never who I envisioned to be. Yeah. This is never the guy I wanted to be in the first place. How did I get myself here? But when you track back, you're going to realize the stuff you were listening to, the stuff you really like were reading. And even if you were not reading like procrastination, some of the habits you had, like it always tracks back to those things. Yeah. And if you don't start taking those stuff seriously, you're going to be left behind, bro. You're going to be left behind. I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I know it's going to touch a lot of people who are going through some similar challenges. And it's really valuable to have some real conversations like this because people need help. Yeah. There are a lot of people out there who need help. And they're going through a lot of crazy situations. And sometimes, it's not everybody who's going to sit down and have a conversation like this. So they'll be like, oh, wow. So if this guy can go through this stuff, means I can go through this stuff too. Yeah. And I can be successful as well. And I can overcome this thing. So it's really good for us as a community, as a this thing raise, to sit down and start having some real conversation. Help one another, and don't impose anything. Like, give it as a suggestion. This is another problem. A lot of people, when they give advice, they'll be like, "Hey man, I'm just advising you. This thing is good. Just try to do this thing this way."
Yeah.
And normally you would think that an advice is a suggestion, but the moment you don't do it that way, they're mad.
Yeah.
They're mad.
Yeah.
They're like, "Why, man? You were giving me advice.
Yeah.
Advice is a suggestion. Like, oh man, you want to do it this way, but this is another option. You
Right.
can look at it from this perspective or that
Right.
perspective." But the moment you don't do it, they're like, "Nah, man, you terrible, blah, blah." Bro. You're just giving me advice, and
Yeah.
advice is your opinion, and
Right.
me accepting it is my choice.
Yeah.
So people don't get this thing twisted, bro. Don't try to impose your belief or anything to anybody. Like, have an open conversation like this, and you decide what you believe, what do you want to do. Is this valuable for you, or it's not valuable for you? You just gotta act by yourself, like decide for yourself.
Right.
At the end of the day, we can have this conversation or talk like this, but you know who you are and know what you really want to do with your life.
Yeah.
And you're gonna know, oh, this makes sense. And sometimes we gotta start taking notes and creating notes, because those are some of the things that these are some valuable things you can leave behind
Right.
to your kids. Because if they see the notes your dad took, like the journal or anything, they'll be like, oh yeah, if dad can leave me this thing, it means it's valuable.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, some days you have some really good insight. You can just hear something, and you capture it on paper.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just
Yeah.
think they're going to leave it on their brain, but after a long run, when you want to really use that thing, you're trying to, like, remember,
Yeah.
it's not coming out.
Yeah.
But if you capture that thing on paper, when you're trying to remember and it's not coming out, you just go, damn, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to say. And you got it. And that sticks. That's life, bro.
Bro, I'm about to tell you, man. That you got cameras in my house or something? Cause bro, I literally that's what I do. So I got this journal,
Uh-huh.
and I like write letters to my kids.
Wow.
You know, like that's what I do. I even write letters to my fiance too, cause I know one day, right, I'm not gonna have the memory that I have, or
Yeah.
I might, God forbid, I die.
Yeah.
So I write in this journal, leaving behind like
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Like, if you facing this, this
Yeah.
is what I did.
Yeah.
I recommend you do something else.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you so happen to want to take the path I took,
Yeah.
this is what you look out for.
Yeah.
And the journal said, right, I take it to work on my free time. If I thought, just like you said, something hit me,
Yes,
I open it
right.
up and start scribbling. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this right here for my son, Dear Johannes.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Oh, this right here could be for my daughter. Dear Zoe.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Like,
Yeah.
I'm always, because I'm like, like, I won't be here always to help, but at least I can leave this journal here that they can, okay.
Yeah.
I remember Dad said something on page, whatever. Let me go turn to it, flip through,
Yeah,
and just to
check it
remember.
out. Yeah.
So I'm like, you
Yeah.
said, I'm like, oh. That's what I did.
Yeah, man, those are some really good things we have to do to, like, pass a good this impression to the next generation. Because once they have those values and principles in place, they really know how to take the challenges that come their way. They know how they can respond to life. Because if they don't have anything, they're just gonna be, I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm gonna figure this thing out. But the moment they have something that they can cling onto, like, oh yeah, I can look back on this thing and realize that Dad went through this process. And even though he had a hard time, he overcame it. He had some things that he went through. And these are some of the steps he took. How can I use the same steps or improve it or make it mine and go to another level? That's life, bro. Yeah. That's life. And the moment we can start doing that, bro, you can just look back 3, 4, 5 generations from now. You're like, oh yeah. We're in a better place. We're going to be in a better place. But if we can start doing stuff like that, it's going to be hard for us to grow, to succeed and strive. And then we keep looking and blaming one another. Is this person's fault? Is this guy's fault? Is this a lady's fault? And we don't really move forward as a society. Right. We're just like, oh yeah, we're just blaming everybody. And that's our problem. We just blame one another. Like, hey, yo, this guy don't know what he's doing. Like, blah, blah, blah. We got to learn how to forgive and heal. Heal. Man, sometimes we carry a lot of people in our heart. And when that person don't even know that they're in your heart, because they did something, they rubbed you the wrong way in the past, and now you're not moving forward. You're just thinking about the person every single day. You're just like, I'm so mad about the person. I can never forgive him for this thing he did to me. bro, you got to heal. You
Yeah.
have to heal. And you're not healing for that person, you're healing for yourself. The moment you free yourself from any problem, any of those like thoughts, you're going to realize that, you will live and you can tackle life challenges with a good and strong mindset. And that's really great, bro.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah. So it's this movie with Adam Sandler in it. Right? It's called Spaceman. It's on Netflix. And it's basically, it's a creature on there because he's an astronaut.
Yeah.
But the creature says something that stuck with me because he basically said the same thing you said. So basically he's going to space because his dad died because he was a traitor. Yeah. So he's doing this thing to basically bring honor back to his father's name, right? Yeah. So he left his wife. He was gone when his wife had the first miscarriage. Yeah. And then he was gone again when she was pregnant now. Yeah. So this creature, I'm going to say spider because that's what it looked like. The spider was like, your dad, he basically said, you are now amongst the living. You have to focus on the living. He's like, you're a father now. And that spoke to me because now, just as you said, I'm like, all right, let me make sure I'm not living for anyone else. Yeah. Make sure I'm not carrying any guilt or any hurt or any of this nastiness that someone did to me because I don't want to be all down in the dumps and they living their life. So I'm like, I'm a father now. I'm a parent now. Yeah. I'm a son or all these things. So let me make sure that my spirit is good because I don't want to carry around something because now I'm a father and I got someone to live for. I don't want to be living for anyone else because that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah,
man. Yeah, that's some valuable insight because sometimes we just want to hold people accountable. We think like if we hold them in our heart and we don't forgive them, you're holding that person accountable. You're not holding that person. He's living his life or she's living her life, having fun, having a good time. Yeah. And you just like worried, stressed, like just thinking about that person. You're furious, like, who's this guy? Who's this do this to me? Like, I will never forgive him. But he's having a good time. Sometimes, like people change. Yeah. People do change. Like if you have someone, you're holding someone in your heart right now, walk up to that person and have a conversation. Yeah. Like you just like, hey guy, this thing that you did to me years ago, I didn't appreciate it. And I thought I'm never gonna forgive you. But now I'm in a healing process. Yeah. I want to move forward in my life. So man, I do forgive you and I hope you've changed. Please be a better person. Yeah. Because that's gonna help you and help people around you. Right. And that's it. And you move on, man. Like sometimes we got to have these conversations. Yeah, fact. Have this conversation and heal yourself. Once you're healed, bro, you can achieve anything you want to. But the moment you keep holding yourself, because you're holding yourself back when you're just holding people in your heart, you can't move forward because you're just, this person, that person, this person, holding yourself back. Yeah. You move one step in front, 5 steps behind. And then all of a sudden you realize that, what's going on in life? Yeah. What's going on in life, bro?
So, yep, and that's correct because recently I just came into my healing process. Yeah. Again, being raised by a single mom, of course, I'm like, dang, man, it's some things that she could have did this way or that way. Yeah. But as I become an adult, and now I'm maturing my thinking. I'm not a kid because as a kid, not even as a kid, as a young person, we think that, we got it all figured out. And we don't because, they were once 25, 26, 27, but we were never 30, 31 because we got to get there. Yeah. So, my healing process, I'm like, well, it's not really all my mother's fault, because she did the best she could with what she had, being that it was just her. Now, she probably could have said, I'll let you go live with a family member while I put y'all up for adoption. But it's kind of like, now, how would that turn out? Yeah. So now it's like, well, then when my dad got out, I'm like, oh, yeah, man, like, what's up? What happened, bro? Like now I'm like, and I was telling my fiance, I'm like, it's easy for us to blame the parent that was there. Why? Because they're there. Yeah. Like they're the actual thing that we can point our anger, our emotions at because they're there. Forgetting that it takes two to make a kid. Yeah. So, when my father got, I'm like, oh yeah, like, what what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what's up? You know, why you felt like what you had to do was bigger than your kids.
Yeah.
You know, and I know it hurt my mother more because at the time he was helping her. You know, like when he would come up to the house, you know, he would get like all of us, including you know, my baby sister who had a different father. It was, you know, so I know when he got locked up, it was kind of like, oh, I don't have this support. So, but as I said, I'm healing. I'm like, as a kid, I'm blaming you. Like, dang, man, I couldn't go hang with the friends, couldn't go do this, could do that. You try and do this. But now I'm older and I'm looking back, healing, reflecting, because now I got kids. I'm like, well, I can't give all the blame to her because she was only doing what she could do best in them circumstances. So now I feel lighter in my spirit because it's like, all right, man, you know, we good. Like now you, as you said, man, you like a superhero in my eyes because dang, girl, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I don't think I could have did 7 kids, girl. Like you, man. You got it. But you know, I call her all the time. We talk on the phone and stuff, and it's because now I'm in a better space. Like, you know, I really do respect you for what you did. Like now I understand. I'm healed from all that kid stuff, thinking I knew it all, and I knew nothing.
Yeah, that's true, man. I really appreciate you for giving your life story, bro. Like, it's going to touch a lot of people listening to this today. And it's really awesome having you on the show today, man. We're wrapping up this episode. It's a great one, man. I just saw the time now. I'm like, boy, oh boy, did the time just fly by. This is one of the fastest episodes ever. But, man, I really appreciate you. So if there's one thing that you want to give or say to our audience listening to you or watching you right now, what are you going to tell the person?
So I'm gonna tell you what helped me get through any life challenge, right?
Yeah.
So something that you went through,
Yeah.
you know, it killed somebody. Somebody else got addicted to drugs, or they got locked up, and you free, you walking around.
Yeah.
So that's God giving you the grace to go be great.
Wow, man, that's some bullet right there. Yeah, I like you. I appreciate you for saying that, bro. Is there anything you want to say before we end this episode, bro?
Right. Shout out to Shawn. You know, I'm wearing the shirt, the Wild Wolf Pack.
Yeah.
You know, listen, there's some good quality stuff. Also, I got my podcast called The Real Shawn Janey Speaks. Yeah. And the website is released on March 14th. That's the 4-year anniversary of my friend's death. So, and that's therealshawnjaney.net if you want to check that out.
Yeah, we're going to drop the link on the description below too as well. So you can just click on it and go there, man. I really appreciate you for coming to the show today, man.
All right.
It was a good one. I thank you. And hey, guys, this was one of the biggest and greatest episodes. So please do us a favor and like this episode, share. And if you're not subscribed, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We drop an episode every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, you're going to get an exclusive on the Benrolins Blueprint platform. So thank you for everything you do, and see you on the next episode. Benrolins Blueprint comes to an end. Thank you. Bye-bye.